Hello and welcome. I am Scarperlock, and this is City of Heroes on the Rebirth server. We are with Quintessence Lass, our level 44 brute, who has 18 million XP earned and 1.2 million to go to get to level 45, 41 million influence, and we're on a story arc that we just started for Maxwell Christopher, where we're supposed to be investigating some evidence of the Nemesis, and we found that they're in cahoots with Lockhart Aerotech. I actually recorded the previous mission, and then we got map disconnected. And it was only like a 10-minute mission, so nothing really I could do about that. So we're now on this story arc. We have gotten to 44th level. Hopefully this will load in, okay. We've gotten to 44th level, and the next power we got was, of course, physical perfection, because as you guys know, I love having as much endurance regen and health regen as possible. Eventually, I'm going to see if I can 6-slot that, but we need to get some slots going in Dark Consumption. And we want to probably put a slot in Overload, and we may need to put some slots in Energy Drain, so we've got a little bit to go. We don't need to slot Taunt and Fear. Everything else in our offense is 6-slotted. Our defenses are basically slotted as well as they can be at this point. So we should be okay. 4 slots. And now we're going to go in. We're on +3 × 1, and we're going to just go in and kick butt and take names. So, off screen, not recorded, I did a story arc against the Richti for Angus McQueen. I didn't record that because I started it on level 43, and then it ended up being a really long story arc, and it went all the way into, 4 beads into level 44. So, and then I got a bead on that mission that I tried to record and got map disconnected from. So everything should be, back to kind of normal. At one point I think I had, in that earlier recording, too loud of a volume of the game, but I think I fixed that. So everything should be back to normal. It's probably only been a day since I posted from your perspective, but it's been about a week and a half since I did any recording. And that has allowed me to catch the recordings up a little bit, so instead of being like a whole season behind, I think the recordings are now only half a season behind. I don't know, about 10 or 12 episodes. So a couple of weeks. And the main reason they're behind is because on some days I play more than one, I record more than one episode a day, and I only post one episode a day just because it's just not really any time to do that, to do more than that. And I suspect most people wouldn't probably want to watch more than one episode a day, although you can correct me if I'm wrong. We're getting toward the end of this character. Season 5, which we're on right now, will end with this story arc, I guess, and then we move into Season 6, which will be the level 45 to 50 game, and that's our final season, guys. So I would estimate we have about 20 to 25 episodes left with this character. So as of the time you are watching this episode, I will predict you'll have about a month left of episodes, and then that's going to be it. I don't anticipate doing any more City of Heroes Let's Plays, because I feel like I've done enough. I've done an entire series for the Scrapper, an entire series for the Stalker, an entire series for the Mastermind, an entire series for the Brute. That's 4 full runs of the game. I've done all of the villain side pretty much, twice all of the hero side, and 2.5 times all the hero side, and I've done the entire Praetorian side. At least the level 1 to 20 content. I haven't gone back and done the higher level Praetorian stuff because I don't like the Praetorian stuff. But I've basically done everything there is for me to do that I like, and done it multiple times, or at least once. And most of it multiple times. And so I will keep playing But I don't see the point of continuing to record because I can't imagine what possible new things I could have to say about City of Heroes. Um, so I'm not sure if I'm going to keep creating content on YouTube. I kind of would like to, but I'm really not sure in what format to do it or what I will do. I just don't know. Um, I've thought of a few things and dismissed them. Um, and I'm not going to list them all here. I've thought about different games. There really isn't one that I want to do. Um, I've thought about doing something other than games, maybe like game reviews or something, role-playing game reviews. There are already a lot of other people who do that. It's not entirely clear to me that what I would contribute would be anything like unique or unusual. It's not clear to me that I would have a good way, if it's like a pencil and paper role-playing game, to provide a good review for anything other than the small number of games I've already played. Like I could review Ironsworn solo, but I've never played it with multiple people, and I think it would be not entirely fair to review the entire game without at least trying it co-op, trying it with a GM. I could obviously review Dungeons and Dragons 1st and 5th edition, which I've played. I could possibly review 3rd edition, which I sort of played with Neverwinter Nights. I could review Champions 2nd, 3rd, and 4th edition, maybe 5th, Hero System 5th. Although I didn't really play Hero System 5th. I got ready to play it, and then we never actually played. And that would be it. Like, there isn't a lot more. I mean, I've got games. I've got Savage Worlds. I've got the starter set for Call of Cthulhu. I've read some of them, maybe most of it. I've got, I've ordered Scarlet Heroes Lion and Dragon, and I have the PDFs already, and they're on their way to me. They've already been shipped. So, I mean, I can look through the books, but I don't think it's fair to review a role-playing game that you haven't played, at least played, and probably also GM'd. I feel like you need to have done both to some extent. I don't feel like I need to have played D&D 5th edition, say, to review it, because I played 1st and 3rd edition enough that I know what it's like to play D&D, and I can kind of picture it, given, what I know about it and how I have GM'd. But any other game, I would feel very uncomfortable trying to deliver a review of anything other than maybe the quality of the printing without actually having played it some and GM'd it some. And significantly, right? Not just like a one-shot GMing and a one-shot playing. To really know what the ins and outs of a role-playing game and what the pros and cons are, you need to play it for a while. You need to, play several sessions. You need to GM several sessions minimally, and I haven't done that. I've got the books, but I don't actually play any of it. And so I haven't had the opportunity to play Savage Worlds. I haven't had the opportunity to play Call of Cthulhu, Scarlet Heroes, Lion and Dragon, etc. So I don't feel like it's fair to review them, which means I can't imagine creating, say, a playlist of reviews and I only got like 4 reviews. Like, what's the point of that? So, and again, I feel like there are other people who have done a much better job of it than I could do. I don't have like the high-end video and audio equipment that some folks have because of their jobs. I do have a decent mic, but my camera is still just like a webcam. I don't have the production quality equipment. I don't have the time or the patience to do a whole lot of post-processing of video. All of this video is basically raw. It's just shot and recorded with OBS. As you can tell, all of the errors and mistakes are in here. I don't edit anything out for a couple of reasons. One is that it just takes a long time. Another is that for whatever reason, even though it shouldn't, Adobe Premiere, which is the main editing software I know how to use, just balloons the size of the file. So this is a 1080p file recorded at 30 frames per second by OBS. And let's say it's a gig and a half. If I just load it into Premiere and export it in the same format, MP3, telling it to do it in 1080p 30 FPS, it'll turn it into like an 8 gig file. So I try not to edit, mostly because it just erupts the size of the files. It just explodes. And then it'll take 4 times as long for me to upload it to YouTube. And then YouTube just grains it out anyway, right? Just reduces the, pixelizes it anyway to reduce the data that it has to pass through to the user. So there's no point to getting it like beautified by Adobe Rush or Adobe Premiere. And by the way, setting it on the YouTube option doesn't shrink the file back down. So anyway, I don't want to do a lot of massive editing. So I don't know. I'm trying to figure out what I want to do next, but nothing has struck me, and it may be that this is just kind of the end of my recording for a while. Well, not this, but when we get to level 50. So he says, I see what you brought back, and it's jaw-dropping. Now we have Lockhart dead to right. So we now know that Lockhart, I'm not going to read all this. Lockhart is working for Nemesis. If you want to read all the details, you can go through the Silver Phoenix and Tiger Strike playthroughs, because they arrested all these guys. So the verdict on Tyrone Lockhart came down: Quintessence last, conspiracy, aiding a known supervillain, even treason. They threw the book at him. He's not going down quietly, though. He bolted, and he's currently hiding out. Go get him. By the way, Lockhart Aerotech, I think, was also working for the Sky Raiders, but I'm not sure if this character encountered that. I think Silver Phoenix did, but I'm not sure if this character did. So now with Steel Canyon, there are 2 train stations. I never know which one to take, so I always just sort of randomly guess. And I feel like I'm wrong more than half the time, even though it should be a 50-50 chance. But I was right this time. Not too bad. We're closer. Just a little bit closer. I always love jumping through that crack and hitting that little ledge and gaining all that extra height. It's so much fun. I love super jump. Best movement power in the game. Super awesome. Am I right? Did we gain like almost a whole beat in that short last mission? And one of the things about the +3s is, boy, you really gain XP fast. Especially if you start fighting +4s, man. It just gives so much XP. At least that's how it feels. I don't know if it really does speed things up because it takes longer to defeat them. But I think you also, because you get so much more like mission XP, that also, as you finish the missions, dramatically increases the rate at which you're leveling up. So guys, as we go, let's talk role-playing games. I'm going to take a look here. I have, I made a file where I jotted down what I wanted to talk about next. Let's see, what did I say? Oh, so, I was watching Trevor Duvall, who does Me, Myself, and Die, which again is a solo role-playing game. If you've never watched it and you like watching gaming shows like Saving Throw or Critical Role, I highly recommend it. What I like about it is it's short, like half-hour episodes. He puts them out once every couple weeks, so it's not a major time commitment. Even if you want to actually catch up to both seasons, because he's nearing the end of season 2 now, it's maybe 40 episodes, a total of maybe 18 hours of watching, which is like 3 or 4 episodes of either Saving Throw or Critical Role. And you can get through 2 whole seasons. He's really good. He does, the voices. He's a voice actor, but He's also super entertaining as kind of the host of the show, um, and he's also entertaining to listen to talking about role playing games and stuff. And he does these. He's done a couple of live streams where he takes questions from his audience, and they talked about like this whole syndrome. What did he call it? The forever DM, right? And how some people who play D&D, they're always the DM, and they never get to play. And actually, if you look at my personal history of tabletop role playing games, I'm pretty close to that because um, 2 of the last, say, 3 years that I played role playing games in college, I was a permanent GM, and then now I'm the permanent GM. And in between, like, I wasn't playing, right? And so pretty much I'm a forever GM. And he said, he was talking about how he had a friend who he was with a group of 8 friends, and it was one of the other guys and Trevor, who one of the 2 of them was always the game master. And he said it was okay because the other guy also GM'd it, so you could get some playing in. But I don't think has played with that person or that group of friends, since he was like in college or something. And he said he did have at one point either that group or a different group where they decided like everybody's going to take a turn GMing, and he said it really didn't work out well. And he said something really interesting. He said it didn't work out well because not everybody is, and this isn't the interesting part. He said not everybody is cut out for GMing. That's true. And then he said kind of that the reason is that GMing is a skill and not everybody has it. And I thought about that. And what I thought is GMing really a skill? I mean, there are skills that you use when you game master. And those can be learned by anybody. But I would argue that even though the skills can be learned by anybody, some people just don't make good GMs even when they technically have learned like the technical skills. And there's a false nemesis. Alright, so let's try to do a little extra 2-hit and damage. Heal up. And so, my belief on this, let's get out of the gas. My belief on this is that there are 2 aspects to GMing, right? One is, of course, the skill. But I think there is also, like, I don't know if you want to call it a personality type or a mindset, but I think that even with the training, not everyone has, I guess, the temperament to be a dungeon master or a game master. It takes a certain mindset, a certain way of looking at and enjoying the game, right? GMing, a lot of it is what Matt Colville has said, which is when his players ask him, did you have fun? He says, well, did you have fun? And they're like, well, yeah, I did. And his answer is, well, then so did I. And he said, my players don't like that because they feel like I'm hedging. But in fact, as a GM, if you have that GM mindset, it's the case that you get a lot of enjoyment out of watching your players enjoy your game. Right? It sort of reminds me of when I talked to my mom as a kid about like Christmas morning and how much it must, kind of suck for adults, although I didn't use that word with her. Because, like, well, I didn't say it this way, but like adults kind of don't care about toys, right? They're like, they don't really care about Santa Claus, right? Adults who live alone, Santa Claus doesn't visit their house. They may or may not even put up a tree. Maybe they put up a tree. They probably don't wrap presents if they live alone and that sort of thing. And so they don't get, like, the cool, fun parts of Christmas are for kids. And adults really not so much. And when I kind of expressed to my mother, oh, that must kind of stink, she said, well, not really, because what happens as an adult is you are enjoying it through the child. Right? You're having fun watching the kid open the presents and open the stocking and so forth. And I think that kind of enjoyment is the same sort of enjoyment that the game master has. You're not opening the presents yourself of the encounter or the puzzle, but you wrap the presents and you're watching somebody else open them and enjoy them. And that's the players playing the game, right? The the various parts of the adventure, the encounters, the traps, the puzzles, the NPCs to interact with, the shops. Those various parts of the adventure are kind of like the presents that the GM has wrapped for the players. And as the players encounter them, it's like they're unwrapping the presents, and the GM is watching them unwrap and enjoy the presents. And so, I think that GMing it's a mindset, and when you have that mindset of kind of I'm going to give this adventure to my players as a present and watch them and enjoy watching them open the present. If you have that kind of a mindset, like the skills you can learn, but the mindset not everybody has. And a lot of folks who are theoretically may have the skill to DM, the ability to make maps or balance encounters or whatever, just do not do a good job at it because they don't have kind of the GMing mindset. And so I guess what I would say is, yes, GMing is a skill set, but it's also a skill set that only people with a certain mentality will be able to put into action to make an enjoyable experience for the players. I mean, a lot of my friends who GM'd a little bit with us had the skills, but only my friend Rob, and I say this from my perspective as a player, so I'm not including myself in this because it's hard to judge exactly yourself as a GM. Although I don't think if it had not been enjoyable, that my friends would have kept playing for 2 years with me as the GM. But only my friend Rob really was able to make enjoyable adventures. Every one of us had the skill of, doing the various parts of GMing, making maps, and running battles and stuff. We all had the skill to do that, but most of the other kids in our group didn't have the mindset, right? Like the one guy that I described in a previous episode who was so selfish as a person, as a player of Champions, right? That when he GM'd, he made up adventures that were all about his characters and ran his characters as NPCs, and we were basically there to watch the, Brainstorm and Propulsion show, which were the names of his two characters. And we didn't enjoy that, right? He had, the various requisite skills to run a game well, but he didn't run it well because he didn't have the temperament to be a GM. He was too selfish, and he saw GMing as a way to make us watch the story that he had come up with, rather than giving us the opportunity to play in an adventure where he and we would make up the story together. And so I think that GMing is both a skill set and a mindset. And I think that the mindset is by far the more important of the two. GMs tend to be a little bit more self-sacrificing, maybe a lot more self-sacrificing. My sense, fortunately, I don't get this too much with my players, but from reading a lot of stuff on Reddit and D&D Beyond, one of the inescapable conclusions I have reached over the last several months, I guess, and you can tell I've reached this conclusion because of how many times I have said on this channel, when you're playing a role-playing game, to remember that it's not all about you. One of the unfortunate conclusions I've reached is that a lot of players apparently are incredibly selfish. And if it's not making them happy in every moment, if they don't get to have the game be exactly the way they want, they're going to complain. That's certainly what I've seen kind of on the internet. Now, I mean, I don't know about the majority of players, obviously, because 99% of them don't ever post to the internet about anything. So, it's probably the case that the subpopulation of players who are people liable to post, especially complaints to the internet, are the selfish ones. And so it's a kind of a skewed population. But just from the comments that I've read on the D&D Beyond forums and what I've seen in Reddits and so forth, I feel like I see a lot of selfishness there among the players, and a lot of how is my GM going to cater or pander to me and make me happy? And I don't care if what I'm doing makes my GM unhappy. The GM should be taking it on the chin for me. That's what GMs do. And and so, I mean, I think that's a very harmful attitude, but to some degree, I think it's derived from the fact that the players all kind of know that a GM is sort of a self-sacrificing volunteer, right? And that the GM will, again, for lack of a better term, take it on the chin for you. It's kind of their job a little bit. And players kind of come to expect that and expect the GM to really just put up with almost anything because the players think it's fun. And so, well, although I don't think you should have to put up with anything, there you do have to put up with quite a lot in the name of making the players have fun. And not everybody's capable of that kind of patience, that kind of self-sacrifice, the willingness to sacrifice a lot of your time to prepping, the willingness to let the players have control of the session, even though you're quote-unquote the game master. The willingness to be flexible and do so in a way that will hopefully make the players have even more fun than they're already having. I mean, this is not easy to do, and not everyone is going to be is going to have those traits and be willing to do it. And so I think that yes, there are skills involved, but I also think there's a mindset, there's a temperament to being a GM. Not everyone's got it. It's pretty clear that Trevor Duvall has it, just from the stuff he's said about how he likes to run his games. He definitely seems to do those in a very selfless way. So I think there's a certain amount of kind of willingness to subordinate your personal instant gratification to the group that a lot of other players besides the GM do not have to exhibit. And many other players would be completely unwilling to exhibit that kind of selflessness. Now again, I'm very lucky in that I have a group of players who are very dedicated to cooperating with each other. They're not super selfish. They're not selfish really, and they are usually trying to make sure everybody else is having a fun time. And so, and I think one of the reasons that I have this really good group of players is that most of them have been DMs, right? So they all have that DMing mindset, and it sticks with you as a player, right? When you're used to being a DM and used to like trying to find ways to help other people have fun, you don't suddenly stop being that way when you turn into a player. If you become the player, you're still going to kind of have that sort of mentality, that sort of mindset. And I think basically all but the new player in my group have been DMs, many in I think in all the cases in long campaigns. And that takes a lot of sacrifice and a lot of selflessness and a lot of subordinating your own feelings and interests to the preferences of the players. And so because they've been GMs before, they know the score, and they're used to thinking in that sort of more GM mindset. And so I think that it really helps when you have players who have, they may not be currently GMing something, but they've done it in the past, and so they know what that mindset is, right? More so than whether they have the skills of the GM. I think that the attitude of the GM, the mindset of the GM, the bearing of the GM, um, those things are not going to leave you when you switch to a player. And I think I've been very lucky that because so many of my players have GM'd before, that they have that perspective, that mindset, that kind of outlook. And that's why I think for the most part, the group is fairly selfless and very much focused on trying to find ways to help each other have a good time. And that, of course, makes my job easier as a GM, right? Because I don't have to constantly be keeping an eye on that, because I know that they're not going to try to upstage each other, and they're not going to try to take the spotlight away from each other and that sort of thing. So that makes my job actually quite a bit easier. Ah, Lockhart's just a lieutenant. He's lame. You're lame. I thought you were going to be an elite boss. You're just a friggin' lieutenant. You're lame. You're going to fold like a cheap suit. Look at this. He's just gone already. Bye. Well, that was a mistake, so now it's going to take me forever to take out this Jaeger. Because it's going to keep missing. Oh, maybe not. I mean, focus actually does help. And some more Jaegers. I'm surprised the false nemesis was so far down on this. Wasn't it like 2 levels below where this is? I'm just surprised it was so early in the mission, rather than being over here where we're ending the mission, and they knew we were going to have to end it over here because you have to take out Tyrone, right? And he was here. Alright, let's call our contact, who says, I saw the whole thing, Quintessence last. Fantastic stuff, and it's just the start. I'm already on the phone trying to subpoena as much of Lockhart's records, should it be as many of Lockhart's records as I can, before the NSA declares a top secret. Okay. So we're going to continue with him, but we will do that in the next episode. We're now about, what is it, three beads from level 45 in our next set of enhancement slots. Until next time, guys, I am Scrapalock, and this has been City of Heroes on the Rebirth server.